So that is the part that is like in parenting is really hard, because sometimes it's so much easier to just do it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's also true in your job and this and that. But like that is one of the things that if you really just, if you're able to relinquish the control of doing everything, of everything having to be exactly right or the way you want it, because I used to be a very control freak, because, you know, the way I fold the things is the best, and the way that I was like, well, I mean, sure, but who cares? I mean, honestly, right? Like if the onesies are not folded, I mean,
Who cares? Exactly.
so it's those little, because these are small things, but they're not small at all, because you do them a gajillion times an hour.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that if you really learn to start getting, like, stop doing in all the areas of your life, it's gonna make so much better. Like, where are all the things that you can just like, what can I just not do today?
Yeah.
Maybe this is not an everyday, you don't have to, maybe, I don't know, take the trash out every single day. I don't know. Like there are things like maybe don't do this every single day.
Yeah. Relinquishing control is something that's very difficult for people. And, you know, putting that into, or retraining their brains to teach them, must be extremely difficult as a coach, as a consultant. Like, how are you able to get people to see the other side of how less control is actually good for them?
Yeah, and baby steps. And I think really it seems like, oh, I will never be able to do it. But once you start, okay, let's just do one thing. Let's just choose one thing, one little thing. And let's use the dishwasher thing. Right. For me, it was like, I mean, it's so obvious that you should put the damn plates right here and the other things right here, and everything just, you know, these things have to be turned down because that's where the water comes from. Like that makes sense. That's just physics. But I was like, okay, we're just gonna do that. Any, like, nothing else. The thing for this week or however long it takes, like, it's just gonna be, okay, it's their job to do the dishwasher, either your kids or your partner or whomever. We're gonna let that happen. And then maybe when the dishwasher, you know, finishes the cycle and all the bowls are up and there's like water, gross water, like Paul don't have it, you call the person, right? If it's your kid, don't do that to your partner. That's probably not gonna work super well. But just like, hey, let me just show you this. And so, you know, just see that. So like, what would be the solution? Like for, you know, for a kid, that would really work. Like, what would you do next time? But again, that will take a minute, right? But in your case, it's just like, just choose one thing and let's just do that one thing. And once you notice that the dish is being washed in this weird way, where everything's not where it's supposed to be, most of the dishes are still fine. And literally the universe keeps, you know, expanding and moving and nothing really changed in your life. Then you get like, okay, maybe let's try the laundry next. Or maybe let's, you know, at your job, when you tell your secretary, or, you know, to do something, let's just try actually letting them do it. You know, like smaller thing, because I see a lot of that too, right? You have assistants and people, but in the end, well, you have someone to do that, and then but you have to like triple check everything they did. So like in the end, like what, well, just do it
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you have to have people around you that you trust, if that's, you know, what's going to happen.
Totally. Totally true. And if you continue to, though, keep doing everything in your, like, on your own, like, ultimately what's going to happen? You're going to burn out. You're going to be probably more ruly to people, sassy, and kind of break some of those amazing relationships you do have that are supportive.
Yeah, what one thing that I noticed a lot, and I did see that a lot in my patients, like this is way before I was a life coach. I noticed these dynamics, which were women resented their loved ones a lot. And
Gosh.
at the time, I didn't understand very well. I was like, why are people so resentful? And you would see maybe I mean, what you saw was not that bad, but what happened was they, oh, here I am doing everything for you, and you don't even notice. Or basically, what I want to say is resentment is like your lack of boundaries showing because you have no boundaries, or you say yes for everything and you do everything for everyone. Nobody asked you to do everything for them,
Mm,
but you're doing that for them, and then you're like then you're mad at them because they're not doing the same for you. I remember that happened to me actually with my husband, because he was always offering to help until one day he stopped offering because you say no all the time,
hmm.
right? Like if you are the only person who can fold the onesies and you always say no, well then at some point they're going to be like, okay, like the most supportive person in the world at some point is going to stop offering. And then you're going to resent them because, well, of course you should know that I wanted this. Like that is a thing that should never go through your mind. Like if you need something from someone, you need to tell them. Nobody has a crystal ball.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that is one of the things, right? Like the resentment is like, well, if they loved me, they would know. Oh my God, please stop doing that. That is just, that will never make anyone happy.
No, I think there's a lot of loss in communication in relationships, people
Yeah.
not verbalizing what they need. Or, yeah, like you just gave that example, they're just kind of expecting for people to know. How the heck are people supposed to know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that really helped in the beginning of our marriage, I am like my love language is acts of service. So if I'm folding your laundry, this is me being so loving to you, right? And I'm showing my love because I'm folding your laundry. My ex-husband could not care less. Like to this day, like his laundry is like, I think he pays the cleaning lady to fold them. He doesn't care. And he really doesn't care, right? Like it's that, right? So I do not know. Obviously, he has no clue that me folding laundry is me showing love, because to him that doesn't matter. So
Right.
when we did that thing, like, okay, this is my love language. So he started like doing the bed every morning, making the bed every morning. Which, by the way, does not care for that either. But he would make it just because he knew I would have to do it. And then
Mm,
that would be like, oh, that's so nice. Go back to the room and like, oh, the room is nice. So that to me was like, oh, you're showing me love because you don't care about this. It's really important also to know these things, like and that's why you should ask for things or say things like, hey, you know what, that thing that you said or did, I really didn't love that way, or whatever, the communication
mhm.
part. Because maybe the way that that person interprets what they're doing is like, oh, but I'm doing this and this is so loving, which is a lot of times what we do in people pleasing. Like, well, I'm doing all these things for you and you don't notice. I'm like, yeah, I don't, because they're really not important to me. They're important to you.
Yeah. And it's understanding and being okay with your love language is different from my love language, and we accept it and we love each other for it. But sometimes that can be easier said than done, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you have totally different ones, right? Yeah, like you don't know if, I don't know. And I say I'm using the love languages, but like this is just because it's an easy tool. But it
Yeah.
can be really just like talking to people and me like, what kind of things would you love if I did for you? It doesn't necessarily have to be that. But of course, if a person's love language is words of affirmation, I was like, okay, maybe I will make an effort to say the things that are in my mind that you're like, oh, of course they know this. Of course they know this. Like, no, but they want to hear it all
Yeah,
the time.
exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of people that deal with the resilience piece of communicating. And then they also are too afraid to say, hey, I'm not feeling great. I'm depressed. There's like a loss of identity. How can people start to get the things that are going on in their brain out to their loved ones or to just the relationships that matter most?
I think the first thing is for you to know yourself, right? Because a lot of times just like you just have that sense of like, oh, I'm just sad or depressed or whatever, and you don't even know what it is. And that's definitely where a coach or a therapist or something like that really helps, because it's sometimes really hard, especially if you're in really a more depressed or kind of like a heavier state. It's almost like you trying to like rearrange your closet, but like you're in the closet with the clothes. So like you want to put all the clothes out and then you're going to look. And I use that analogy as for your thoughts a lot of times. Okay,
Mhm.
let's get all your thoughts. Let's look at them and let's see which ones we like and we want to keep. Because every single belief you have in your life is just a thing that you think, right? Unless we're talking about the law of gravity and things like that. Like everything else is like, I don't know if that's true, right? But like,
Mm.
oh, I have to be the person who does all the things. And I don't know, in case of men, is like, I have to be the one who provide. In case of women, oh, I have to be the one who takes care of all the kids stuff. Like, that's not true. Absolutely not true. So the to start off is really just analyzing these things that you believe, especially the ones that are causing you pain, and
Mm.
asking yourself, whose belief is that and why do I want to keep it?
I love that. How has stress saved your life?
Mm, saved my life. Wow. That is a hard question.
Mhm.
I mean, and there's the obvious way that, like, yes, we need sometimes stress so that we don't do stupid things, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, if I don't know, you're walking on the street at night and, like, oh gosh, that feels scary because a bunch of weird looking people or something like feels dangerous. That's when you want stress. That's when you need stress. Or if you in the woods and you're being chased by a bear, of course. I haven't been in any of those circumstances. I've definitely been in shady things in terms of like, is this person okay? Am I safe? And all that. But otherwise, I really think we really don't need it that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, exactly. I've always felt that stress is kind of like a guidepost. It helps you when you absolutely need it, but for the most part, it's like it can cause a lot of inflammation, as you know, as a doctor,
Yeah.
and a lot of stress and pain over time to the body. So, yeah, it's an interesting. That's why I love it so much. I love learning about it. I love exploring it, and I don't know. It's just something
Yeah,
different.
and it's part of our, it's not like we're going to get rid of stress. That does not exist, obviously. But I think what we need more than getting rid of it is just learn to close the stress cycles,
Yeah.
right? Which is just like we're in a constant state of stress. We don't allow the circle to close. Back, if you're being, I don't know, in a tribe in the woods, whatever, and you're being chased by a lion, either the lion's going to kill you or the lion's going to be taken care of. And then maybe you're going to, I don't know, have the lion's meat and this and the other, whatever. So that is going to be like, okay, now we chill. And now our bodies go back to everything. And now we don't have that
Mhm.
because it's, yes, there's life is way more stressful in this constant way now than it used to be because you're not being chased by a lion every single minute, and now it feels like every single minute we have that weight of a to-do list of how should I be and how should I behave and all these things that you have to do. And I think if really we start taking all those things and getting rid of them. One of the things is, again, as a parent, a friend of mine said the other day that she got sucked into this volunteering thing at the PTA. And I was like, explain that to me because I did not understand. It's like, wow, they did this and that, and they said they guilt tripped me. I was like, let me tell you, you cannot be guilt tripped into something you don't feel guilty about. So I
Hmm.
don't feel guilty about not participating in any sort of PTA related situation. I don't. Like, you want my money, here's my money, but I will not volunteer at school. I will not bake cupcakes. I will not do these things because they do not light my soul. And there are people who love that and they
Yeah.
should do it. They should volunteer at school and they should do all the things that makes them happy. It's not me. So I would never be guilt tripped into being part of the PTA because I just don't feel guilty about it. I don't
Hmm.
think it's my job as a mom to be at school. And listen, my school has a billion events. I'm not kidding. Like last month, November, I think I had to go participate in some to see my kids do something about 7 times for 2 kids. There's a presentation on this, and there's a holiday party, and there's other thing. And I go to all of them because I want to be there for my kids. But
Right.
that's the part that I do, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't feel guilty about not doing the extra stuff. And I feel a lot of women feel guilty about that, or feel guilty about their houses not looking like Martha Stewart lives there, or, oh, it's Christmas now, I have to decorate my house as if like the Target commercial or something.